session. So welcome everyone to day 6 of the National Art and Health Week. It's been an incredible experience week for all of us, from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday to Friday to Saturday. And across the nation, we've been having several art and health engagements with participation over 1,000 people across Nigeria. Because beyond what we're seeing here, people are also hosting events in hospital, in hospices, in psychiatric, hospital and some other places. And it's been an incredible inspirational moment for all of us, especially for the 3rd edition of the National Art and Health Week in Nigeria. So today, very quickly, because our time is quite short, and I will just spotlight some of our speakers who will probably introduce themselves. I will first start with Ejiro very quickly. Ejiro, you have 30 seconds to introduce yourself very quickly. Can you unmute yourself, Ejiro? Because again,
Hi, Kunle. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ejiro Sharon. I am. Let me start with being a Mandela Washington Fellow, 2015 cohort. I'm also the founder of the Hope Inspired Foundation for Women and Youth with Disabilities, where we work to promote the rights of women and youth with disabilities, creating an enabling environment for them to thrive. And lastly, I work as a gender and social inclusion specialist on the USAID governance project here in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ejiro. Such a delight to hear your voice and to see you again. No visa, no immigration process, no pilot trouble. Just hearing your voice is just beautiful this evening. And it's good to be connected with you again. And right now, I will go to Toyin to introduce herself very quickly, please, Toyin.
Hi, everybody. Oh, is it Tonye or Toyin?
No, it's Toyin. It's Toyin, not Toyin.
Oh, okay. So I'm Tonye Faloughi-Ekezie. So I write children's books. I'm the author of the first picture book series to feature a Black main character with Down syndrome worldwide. It's called Udoh and Sim Sim, and it's a book series. And I am a special needs advocate. I have my own foundation called Simone's Oasis Foundation, which is named after my daughter who has Down syndrome with some traits of autism. And we use storytelling, creative arts, and tech to help children understand about kids that are different from them, kids with special needs. So we use that technique to raise awareness and acceptance, with the ultimate goal for kids like my daughter to be not only included and integrated, but also accommodated fully into society. And that's it.
Thank you so much. And it's good to hear your voice again, Toyin, since the last time at the GT Bank conference, July last year, right? Good to see you again. And I will go to Toyin Adesola. That's my big sister. So, Toyin, over to you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Toyin Adesola. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit sickle cell advocacy and management initiative, where we provide support to people with sickle cell and also create awareness. I'm also a resilient and social impact coach and a visual artist, and of course, a fellow of Global Arts in Medicine.
Wonderful. Good to hear your voice and good to have you here today. And then we'll go next to Esta Richard, talking about the Global Art in Medicine Fellow. Don't be proud.
Hi. Yes, that's what I'm starting with. Good evening. My name is Esta Richard. I'm a Global Arts and Medicine Fellow. I specialize in dance therapy. I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm passionate about holistic wellness for women. I believe that a woman who has a very fit body still needs a fit mind. I believe that a woman who has lost weight still needs to be sane. So the society we have today, we have women dealing with different layers of stress. So one of my fortes is to create experiences for women to, relieve stress and be the best version of themselves every single time. So I have a community called the Dance Therapy Community. We have over 200 women from different parts of the world. First recipients, I won't say I'm the first, but I'm one of the recipients of Card Fund, and Card Fund launched the Dance Therapy Community for me on a dance therapy project, which now has grown into a community of over 200 women in the last 1 year. So I'm very excited to be here. Self-care is non-negotiable, and I can't wait to jump into the room. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther. Really good to hear your voice again. And I will go talking about fellow. Well, let's again move away from the Global Art and Medicine Fellow and then look at another fellow. And I will invite Chioma right away.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Chioma Udoh, and I'm a senior product manager with Andela. What I literally do is to create beautiful experiences using technology. I love to build products that people love to use, that are inclusive, and create amazing user experiences. I'm excited to share my global opportunities, knowledge, and experience today. I'm also a 2018 Mandela Washington Fellow. Thank you all.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. I mean, don't let me jump into that. I was going to say something, but I'm like, let me reserve it. I won't say anything now. Let me comment my name. It's good to hear your voice, John. Very, very good. I'll go straight away to talking about tech for inclusion. I'll again just spotlight Adelola George very quickly. Adelola George, over to you. Please introduce yourself. Okay. So I've made you a co-host now, and you
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud
Can you hear me?
and clear.
All right. You were saying something about not unmuted. Hello, everyone. My name is Adelola George. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you. I'm a specialist educator. I'm a certified autism specialist. So the bulk of my work is working with autism. And I'm also an disability advocate, basically advocating for inclusion of people with special needs or disability in general in the society. Thank you.
And thank you for that good introduction. And then I will go to Adebusola Dele-Davids. I know if you call your name, I know if it, but allow me for the sake of this meeting. I'm going to make a course. I know that's, yeah. Okay, good. Very quickly introduce yourself, please.
Okay, my name is Adebusola Dele-Davids. I'm a lawyer, I'm an author, an actor, and a YouTuber. Okay, so I have a passion to help people be the best of themselves, to be the best version of themselves. And hopefully, my prayer is that impacts their relationships, family, and the nation as a whole.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you for your introduction, and it's good to again see you again. And then I think we have Mariam Campbell here. Could you please put on your camera very quickly so that we can spotlight you and then you can get to introduce yourself? Okay, just wait. I'm going to, can you unmute yourself very quickly, Mariam? Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mariam Campbell, and I'm an SME consultant and an educator. So basically, I'm in the field of entrepreneurship development for youths and teenagers. That's it.
Thank you so much. Good to have you here today. Very quickly, Yaya Abubakar, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. No, you can unmute yourself actually.
Okay, am I audible, sir?
Yeah, loud and clear, very quickly.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Yahya Abubakar. I'm the fellow of Mental Health Fellowship 2022 and the pioneer president of the Mental Health Tribe. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Good to have you here. Toluwanimi Fanibuyan, very quickly. Okay, I can see you can unmute yourself. You can meet yourself now, Tolu, very quickly.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I am Tolu Animi Senior, a mental health fellow, vice president of Mental Health Tribe.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, good, good. Yeah, good to have you. Since we have everybody here already,
Founder of JH Care Tech Company. Happy to be here this evening.
Thank you, Tolu. Thank you. Good to have you here as well. So I'm actually going to ask all of us. I'm trying to look at, considering the numbers we have here, do we think so this is the way my brain thinks strategically. So do we still go ahead with the breakout room session? Because I feel like there's so much we want to share. Or should we leave it this way and I can specifically spotlight each of the segments and ask you some very critical questions? Does that make sense, rather than going to have two people who are talking to themselves, or to have a knowledge that is beneficial to these 22 people on Zoom? But again, I'm just thinking, that is my brain thinking. But I feel like also psychologically, it's not really appropriate. When you're talking to two people, like say, a homie, two people. No. So I don't know if you can make sense of that. So
Yeah.
I think I love this community this way it is. So I think I feel very comfortable. And also, so I'll go quickly to maybe start from the first person that was introduced. And that is going to be, maybe we'll start from inspiration. I think that's a good way to start from inspiration, right? So we're going to, the first segment of this very quickly this evening, focus on inspiration, inclusion, and support for persons with disabilities or special needs. And I'm going to spotlight Ejiro. Already, I think you're already on the spotlight, actually. And then I'm going to, let me say, all right, I think all of you are here already. So I'm just probably going to remove so that we're able to have focus in the moment and that we're able to really enjoy this. So I will only spotlight the speakers for this segment, and then we will be good to go. Yes, this is brilliant. All right. So I'm going to ask Ejiro. Ejiro, please, can you please quickly tell us more about yourself, your journey? I know, like, I met you way back, almost like 8 years now, and you've been a great inspiration. And then what is it to live without sight? Maybe tell us something about that very quickly, and how your journey has been, how you've been able to navigate barriers that could limit people that have no sight. Very quickly, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Kunle. And again, it's great to be here. So that question, what does it feel like, or what is it like to live without sight? I think in a place like Nigeria, having grown up here and spent most of my life here, it's quite a difficult one to be without sight. So by the way, I am blind in both eyes, and I wasn't born blind. I acquired my disability in the course of life. I had cerebrospinal meningitis when I was 11 years old, and it wasn't properly diagnosed or handled early enough. So that led to the loss of my sight, both sides. And then, of course, I started a new journey, having to live life differently, but certainly in a very unique way. And finding myself in a society like Nigeria, where at the time there was, I mean, it's probably a bit better now, but back then, this was like 29 years ago. And then also the technology to like absent, so that of course meant quite a lot of things for me. And having been raised by a single mom, so the dynamism around my own life was quite a lot. I was raised by a single mom, the economic challenges and all of that. And for people that understand what it means to have a child with a disability, sometimes they say the resources you use to send one child with disability to school, you probably use that same resources to send 2 or 3 other non-disabled children to school. And that was it. But anyways, I had a family that was very supportive. I was privileged to have a mom who knew the value of education, and of course, family support from my aunties and my uncles and all of that. They knew what to do early enough. So I went to Pacheli School for the Blind in Surulere in Lagos, where I did a 6-month rehabilitation program, and I was just taught how to read Braille and how to use a manual typewriter. And with that, I was able to go back to second. So I was in high school, second year in high school when I lost my sight. So with that, having learned how to read Braille and how to type, I was able to go back to high school, and I used Braille and manual typewriter, and of course a recorder. So by the time I got into the university, I had to record some of my handouts and things like that. I was able to use that to go through school. It's a rigorous process, by the way, because for exams, for example, the universities did not have any facility whatsoever. So I would have to get somebody to go with me to the examination hall. I have my exam questions dictated out to me. I had to memorize them, organize all my answers in my head because I was using a manual typewriter. So if I made a mistake, I couldn't go back to correct the mistake. I just had to carry on. So quite a very difficult process to study. Of course, my access to information was limited because I was using Braille and I was recording. So I have to just record the part sections of the textbook that I felt were most relevant. So, but despite all of that, there's always that thing that they say there's a part of compensation, right? When you lose one sensory organ, the others kind of compensate for it. I think I would agree with that to an extent. And of course, knowing where I came from, my background, there was so much said about my mom. Oh, you're the cause here. You took your daughter to the north. That's why she lost her sight. So I really wanted to prove, a lot of people wrong. And because of that, it kind of stirred up a certain kind of determination, resilience in me, and all of that. And I just kept excelling. I finished from Queen's College with, good grades, 5 A's in my WAEC result. I graduated from the University of Benin with a second-class upper in international studies and diplomacy. And I didn't stop there. Of course, I went on to do a master's in public and international affairs in 2013 at the University of Lagos. And I finished that, and I did a second master's degree in development studies at the University of Sussex under the Chevening Scholarship, the most prestigious Chevening Scholarship, and that I finished in 2020. And in the midst of all of this education, I started to work as well. I found myself in the development space. Now advocating for disability rights, advocating for women's rights, of course, motivated by my own personal experiences, having acquired a disability and all of the experiences of my mom and all of that. So those two things combined together, made me become a disability rights advocate and of course a women's rights advocate. And putting that together is kind of what I do today. I'm a gender expert and I also work as a social inclusion specialist. So I did a couple of roles in a non-profit in Nigeria. I started with the Nigeria Association of the Blind, coordinated a few health projects on HIV/AIDS for the blind, and then I moved on to set up my own organization in 2015, the Hope Inspired Foundation, which has been on for about 9 years now, this year. And I mean, one of the key things, as I said, is really using my experience to encourage younger persons with disabilities, particularly women with disabilities, because again, you find that the men with disabilities or the males with disabilities are a bit, more adventurous and all of that, but you find that the young women with disabilities are a bit passive, and held back. So I always try as much as I can to use my experiences to motivate them, to pull them up, to step up, and gradually, one of my dreams was to work in international development, and I was able to do that in 2021. I got into international development, and presently I work with a company called Development Alternative Incorporated. They are implementers of big clients like FCDO and USAID. So I'm presently working on a USAID governance project here in Nigeria as a gender and social inclusion specialist for my 9-to-5 job, whilst I also run my foundation. So it's just a combination of all of these things. I continue to use that to inspire the young people with disabilities, and of course, the non-disabled people around me. If I can do it, then certainly no one out there has any excuse not to be able to live their lives to the fullest. I turned 40 last month, and it's been an amazing journey navigating all the way from when I was 11 in the last 29 years, accomplishing all of these things with the help of God, of course, and my family and friends and all of these wonderful people, including you, Kunle. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I'm talking about family support. I mean, your story is quite an inspirational, very, very inspirational. And then we have many parents on call today. We have people, again, probably that have families that maybe friends that have one form of disability or the other. Talking about family support, I will go to maybe Toyin very quickly, if I may, to speak more about what it is to have a child who is living with disability. What is it like as a parent, and how can parents find the resources they need, to cope with that? What was it like for you to even like discover that, oh, I have a child that has this? What was that like? How do you transition from that to like now? Because I know many parents, I work with person with disability, and I know sometimes some parents will never allow their children to be seen. They will lock them. They will lock them inside the house. They will shut them down. And so what is it for you? Very quickly, Tony.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Kunle. So for me, I didn't know I was going to have a child with a disability. Most people don't know they're going to have a child with a disability, but with the kind of disability my daughter has, which is Down syndrome, most people will know before birth or at birth. I didn't know either way. I didn't know till she was 4.5 months when the pediatrician wanted to test her for Down syndrome. And that's how we found out she had Down syndrome. She didn't look like she had Down syndrome then, and she didn't have any of the markers they would look at for at birth. And I didn't want the anomaly test when I was pregnant, because I was gonna have the baby I was gonna have, whether the baby had a disability or not. And I wanted a happy pregnancy, because I really believe your mental state as well as your physical state affects the nature of the personality and the child that you're going to bring into the world. So I really put part of her positive attitude is also because we had a very positive pregnancy. So what it's like having a child with a disability, especially specifically with Down syndrome, autism, isn't how they tell you it's going to be. And this will go into some of the work that we will be aiming to do over the next 2 years in working with health and medical professionals. So when you get a diagnosis like this in the hospital, in a clinic, 99% of the time, it's a really, really down, negative way you're giving the news. At birth, just push this baby out, and then the doctor is coming to you with a sad face and saying, I'm sorry, so sorry, your child has a disability, your child has Down syndrome, they're not going to be able to do this, they're not going to be able to do that. They just get told everything negative. And for parents, it's really important that how you start your journey, how that journey is kicked off, really depends on how you're given the news. I was given the news in a very positive way, or a very practical, pragmatic way. The pediatrician, when she told me, said, your daughter has Down syndrome. It's not the end of the world. This is what you should do next. And she gave me a whole list of things to do next, who we had to see, what to do, that the world is just open to her, and all about early intervention. And I was really blessed to receive that kind of diagnosis, because it set me on a path of doing rather than a path of denial, anxiety, worry. So for a parent who's raising a child with a disability, to get the news it's tough. And you go through that stage of wondering why, what did you do? And unfortunately, we're also in a culture which will say that, straight up will tell you someone's cursed you from a village. or you sinned, or you did something when you were pregnant, you know, that the child is a demon or a curse. There's nothing I have not heard. So what I always try and do is, just rather than saying, no, that's not the case, I started sharing my life. I started sharing my child, because our experience wasn't what we were being told. Simone, that's my daughter, having her totally changed our family. You know, and when I say our family, it's not just our unit of parents and kids, right? It was our entire family, extended, both my in-laws and my parents as well. And she brought with her so much joy, so much love, that the challenges, we have been able to navigate the challenges because we really believe that she's a blessing from God. So you get that news, you're processing it. It's really something that takes time. At the same time, most people go through a period of denial, but at the same time, you also need to be practical, especially if you're a parent who realizes you need to do something. So what I always tell parents is that everybody's journey is different, and I will never judge a parent for taking a very, very long time to come to terms with it. It's a continual process. But what I say is, while you're putting your head in the sand, crying, blaming, all that, still do. Early intervention is the most pivotal game changer for any child with a disability. Because from 0 to 5, our brains, I know that Adelola will speak on this, your brains are the most spongy, receptive, all your neural pathways, you know, all those things are created. And for a child who necessarily isn't going to be automatically be able to gain these skills on their own, like neurotypical children, having that intervention during that period of time will allow them to gain those skills that will make them be able to reach a higher level quality of life and independence later on. So my goal is always with parents is that, look, it's hard now, right? I'm slaving, I'm working hard, spending all my money, you know, researching, doing all this work with her now, because later on I want to sip margaritas and chill. So that you do the hard work now, the stress now, so that they grow up to need you less and be more independent. And then what you also do is that you need to build a community. You cannot do it on your own. People always wonder why I'm still in Nigeria. I haven't japped. They're always surprised I'm still in Nigeria. The major reason is, one, the weather. 2 is the community. Our culture is still not so westernized that we still have a village that brings up our children. There's still a network, you know, we still do amugo. You know, those things are still part of our culture, which means you're not just doing it on your own or with your partner. So what is key with that is that if you have access to create your own support community, some people are not blessed that support community is their immediate family, because sometimes, unfortunately, the immediate family will reject that child. So sometimes your community and your special needs family is one that you have to intentionally create. And you will know those people, because when you ask, they will want to help. So getting past that denial, you have to be able to ask for help. There's no shame. There's no shame. Never be ashamed. It's not your fault. It is just the path that you have to take in life. So it's really important to build that community, because you're only a human being. I'm only a human being. you get tired, you get exhausted, you break down. And if you break down, you know, everything else breaks down. So for example, when Simone was smaller, I learned about Makaton sign or baby sign language, right? I went online, did all the resources, learned the signs, but I printed everything and I sent to my siblings. I shared with the nanny and the staff. I sent to my dad's house because my kids spent a lot of time at grandpa's house. So everybody around them, and my son, who's the oldest sibling to Sim Sim, we were all signing. So it's not just me. And that gave her the confidence to communicate and to be understood. So in fact, she had very little episodes of tantrums and being frustrated, unlike my son, who is neurotypical but had terrible tantrums because we didn't understand what he was asking for, and you know, he didn't really know how to tell us. So that is just one example of how you can key into support. Support is key all through your journey as a child, as a parent raising a child with a disability. We know, as Ejiro stated, the financial implications for this journey are huge. 99% of people cannot afford interventions. Interventions are like 20K, 30K an hour. I don't know who can afford that. There's very, very few people who can afford it. So something to fill in the gaps is something I call informal therapy.
Yeah.
So you can access the therapy that you can get, that you can afford. One, you can whatever you can afford, but also the free hospitals, free therapy you can get at the general hospitals. It's very intermittent, maybe once every month, once every 3 months. But we live in an age where we have access to a lot of resources and knowledge that are free. And it's just looking at that specific thing you want to look at for your child. So at one point for me, it was speech and language. Okay. And so I'm like, how can I help her? So it's about also taking that active approach to filling the need. Because even if you can afford all the therapy, it's never going to be enough. So what you have to realize is that you as a parent are actually the main therapist. You're the main interventionist. And those things are supplemental, because the child is most likely, when not in school, is at home with the primary caregiver, the parents. So
I'm going to step in now. Yeah, I'm gonna step in now. Sure. Yeah, just not, but I want to step in now very quickly.
Sure.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I want to complete that statement.
So it's just that understanding that we are the main therapist. You have to be actively involved in your child's education, in your child's intervention, in your child's assessments, everything that is being done or you're trying to do for that child. You have to try and understand what is being done. So when you take them, for the initial assessments, they come back with all these reports and you don't know what is there, you need to ask questions. You need to understand, okay, when they set the goals, these are the goals, this is how they're doing, the OT, occupational therapy, this is what they're working on. Okay, how can you support what's being worked on at home in the house in an informal way? And informal therapy does not take a lot of time, 5 to 10 minutes a day, if you can do that. And it doesn't take a lot of money. Just use what you have around in the house.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's amazing. That is amazing. I would love to bring in Adelola George now to complement what you said as a specialist in this field, who has really worked with parents, worked with institutions and all of that. Adelola, what do you have to say in complement to what Toyin has actually mentioned about raising a child or persons with special needs? And like she said, that parents have to become the therapists. In fact, they are the primary therapists for the child. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, thank you. I totally agree with her, because no matter what an external person will do with your child, that time with that child is very limited. And so I can speak as one who works. I've worked both in school system, I've worked in centers, I've worked with individual children, and I can say that children with more support at home will do better. Now, understand that any disability, I mean, let me just say developmental disabilities, they're like a spectrum. So it's milder in some children, it's more severe in some children. So sometimes people will judge parents by their child, the severity of their child's case, but that's not the issue. The issue is, how well can your child do despite this? How independent can your child be despite the severity? If it is not complemented at home, I mean, there's a lot of generalization in this field where the child is answering in school, doing everything that they're supposed to do in school. Then they get home and they have some form of learned helplessness, like they will do absolutely nothing. And to be honest, that is the most long-lasting, that has more long-lasting effect than the 2 hours, 4 hours, or probably even 6 hours of therapy, because that child will not always be in therapy, but that child is always going to be around people. And somehow, if your child has learned helplessness at home, then they're going to always seek external help as against finding a solution to their needs, regardless of the severity or the mildness of the case. So yes, so I totally agree with her that parents have a place, every other member or aunt. I really love listening to both of them, Ejiro and Tonye, because while they've spoken from their own perspective and their own experiences, it speaks to almost everyone that has some form of disability. Number one, there's that empowerment that the family gives. And over time, the child learns to take decisions and initiative for themselves and push that extra. The child says, oh, this is difficult for me, but I can push. They don't have that internal motivation because of the support that they have gotten. And yes, the therapist definitely plays a role. I know children I've worked with children who started to talk because they got therapy, right? And I have worked with children who have mild autism, who I met them already saying at least a few words. So parents, family beyond the parents, and the society at large, to be honest, we all have a role to play. Imagine if a child at home knows that, oh, I can't get away with certain things, but when they go outside, they know that, oh, they can get away with it. If they throw a tantrum, for example, they know their parents will be scolded and their parents will have to bend. Then they also learn that oh, outside, I can do this. So there's that general role that we all have to play in helping to raise independent and successful individuals, regardless of their disability.
That is very profound. And, I would probably, what I would love to do here would be to bring in Miss Toyin, Adesola, sorry. I would love to bring her here now to speak on. Now we're talking about living with disability, and Toyin is always living with sickle cell anemia, right? So I have to bring her into that conversation, and because I know a segment has to do with self-care. So what does self-care mean to her? Now she's been coping living with sickle cell anemia. She also supports families and young people and children living with sickle cell in Nigeria. Yeah, I'm going to ask you to speak, and then I will ask Esther to join you, talking about self-care generally. Please, very quickly, Toyin.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Kunle. One thing I've realized that self-care, you have to be intentional and deliberate about it. Actually, Esther was supposed to go for first because she was going to tell you the whys, and now I'm telling you the hows. But doesn't matter. I'll just share my experience.
I'm curating the conversation because again, it's not about what you
okay.
It's about just looking at the tone in the room and aligning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. So, like I said, you have to be deliberate about self-care. Some people think self-care is being selfish, but it's not. It's just taking time to make sure that you are in a place that you can be productive, that you're not stressed, that you're be able to do things with other people. And for me, I had to get to a point of practicing self-care because with the space I am, you get so involved with your beneficiaries, your patients, whatever, especially when you're running a non-profit, that you forget about looking after yourself. And when you fall ill, then you're running around and trying to figure out what to do. So it's very important that we separate ourselves once in a while to practice self-care. So one of the things I see in self-care is the ability to just know what is your triggers are. Because whether it's Down syndrome, whether it's sickle cell, whether it's just physical impairment of any kind, you have to know what triggers your challenges. For me, I always know what stress, number one for me, when I get into crisis, stress, both physical and mostly emotional. And then, okay, whether it's weather for us with sickle cell, the weather you go to, do you keep yourself warm? Do you keep yourself well wrapped and everything? And so you have to know what are your triggers, what would create that challenge in you to be able to not practice self-care. So you have to know those things. Then secondly, you have to get to a position where your mindset is very important. That's why we say we practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is just the ability to stay in a space and just relax and breathing. You can do breathing exercise once in a while. You can do meditation, whichever way, whether it's meditation the Christian way or whatever way. You just relax and spend time analyzing your environment, thinking about what is going on, what are the challenges you're having. You have to be deliberate about it, because if you are not, you find out that it's not working and you say, oh no, this self-care thing, let me just continue doing what I want to do. But no, you have to be deliberate about it and intentional. But I'm going to set aside a specific time, specific period where I'm going to sit in the quiet. You can play classical music or inspirational music to set the mood, and just for 5-10 minutes, just separate yourself and relax and breathe in, breathe out, for about 4 to 8 seconds, depending on how you're doing your breathing exercise. There are things online that can even help you to get into that space, but you just need to set yourself apart and say, okay, this is my challenge, but I'm going to separate myself and be able to stay in a space where I can know what to do at a particular point in time. And then another thing I do is creativity. I use arts to be able to distress myself. I paint, and I find it's a relaxing process. I play some nice instrumental music and I paint away. And you find out that at that point, you're focusing on what you're painting. You're not worrying about all the things that have piled up in your brain and for you to worry about. But you're focusing on the painting, the colors, the warmness, the coldness, whatever it is. As you're painting, you're focusing on it. And even sometimes it doesn't need have to be with painting. You can do origami, you can do journaling, write all your stressors day by day. Just take a journal and write things that you think you're getting frustrated about. I remember when I was in bed for about 6 months. I couldn't move, I couldn't get up, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go to school. I was just there, and I didn't have friends or anything. So I started writing a journal, expressing my own emotions, expressing myself. And sometimes when I look back at what I wrote, I realized, well, it's not as bad as what I wrote. Life is not as bad as that. There's still some positive things you can see and be grateful for, because we have to practice gratitude every single step of the way, even though we may not see what is what you can thank God for, but there are little things that you can look at. The fact that you can breathe, the fact that you can see your your family in one way or the other. Some people don't have families. So you practice that, then you can go to watch plays, comedy shows, things that can distract you from that point in time, or movies. Go out. I think in Lagos generally, for everybody, we are so busy hustling every single running after money, running after this, running after that we don't take time to separate ourselves to relax. And a lot of the disorders, illnesses come from stress. You'll be surprised because a lot of times we're not looking after ourselves. We don't go to the hospital, do checkups or stuff like that. We're busy just hustling, trying to get this money, trying to work, trying to get stuck in Lagos traffic. You come back at 12 midnight. It's a roller coaster. You're trying to eat, which is not healthy. Eating late at night. Then you're waking up at 5 a.m. to dress the children to go to school and all that. And it's another roller coaster ride. But in all that, we need to find just few minutes to separate ourselves and relax and meditate to make ourselves more productive. Because when you're tired, when you're stretched, you cannot be productive. You cannot, you find yourself, you're getting bored, you're getting frustrated, you're getting depressed. So it's always good to get to a point where that you can relax and all that. Yeah.
That is such a very profound, point you've raised, and many things came to my mind, and I would love Esta to speak into that. The point you have highlighted about self-care, art making, and all of that. While you were talking, Ejiro said. Ejiro was talking to me about, like, Esta a dancer. I said, yes, she's a dancer. I would love to connect you together. So Ejiro, I'm amplifying what you said to me now. And I know dance is actually a form of self-care. And I would invite Esta Richards in talking about dance and talking about self-care. Esta, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'd like to come from the place of holistic well-being, because I know that there are lots and lots of myths that have made self-care look like it's luxury. So people are like, that's one big word, so it's not for me. Self-care is as simple as just taking care of your needs, taking care of yourself, and making sure that your cup is full so you can pour into someone else's. We've been wired to look out for others and reject ourselves. I mean, it doesn't mean that you will not take care of others. It just means that if you're able to take care of yourself, you can take care of people. So imagine an empty cup. An empty cup has nothing in it to pour. So self-care is just making sure that there's something that is in your cup so that everybody else can benefit from that. So dance for me became self-care. Over the years, I've been known as a professional dancer for over 10 years. Just call it over 2 decades, yeah? And dance was a profession for me. It wasn't self-care. It was just a thing that made me feel good, right? But when I had cervical spondylosis, which is an invisible, I call it an invisible disability, because there are lots of things that I cannot do at different times. There are lots of things I cannot actually do. It made me stop my career. So imagine that something that is so invisible as cervical spondylosis made my career of dance come to an end, because I had recurrent rehearsals, and one day my neck just kind of locked and I couldn't dance anymore. I had spasms in my neck, and that career had to end. So delving into arts in health, I mean, at that 2020 is when everything began to happen, and arts and medicine came at that time. And after that,
I began to discover different parts of myself. I had to define myself. In defining myself, I was trained as a dance therapist by IREX Foundation in a collaboration with something going on in my state here. I was selected and I got exposed at that period when I was just not even knowing what to do, how to do it, who I am. I'd lost my identity because my business had crashed because of the pandemic and all of that. So I was starting from scratch. At that part, when I was now introduced, so whenever I hear dance, something in me just leaps, right? Even if I couldn't dance professionally or move my body anymore. So when I experienced that that training, something in me just came alive. And I began to practice dance therapy as a person, and it just became so beautiful that I've currently integrated dance therapy into my routine. Though I'm not always faithful to it, but every single time, I call it dance warfare. So every time I get into the bathroom, it's either something is in my ear and I'm playing a favorite tune and I'm dancing my heart out. That is a form of distressor. That's a distressor for me. So dance therapy became something that I began to use for my own personal well-being. And I thought, my God, this is so beautiful. I don't actually have to do so much. I can just help people learn how to use their body. So I began to embrace that part of my life and it became something. So self-care is in that place can be something as simple. You don't have to pay to move your body. You don't have to go to an expensive hotel. Eating healthy is self-care. Not picking some calls is self-care. Letting go of some friends is self-care. Paying attention to your autistic child can be self-care because when, like Tonye said, sorry, calls just keep coming in. Like Tonye said, when you're able to be part of the process of this child, it's going to be so beautiful. It will make your job less stressful. But imagine that you're focused more on the negatives than how you can collaborate with your child and collaborate with the process. It becomes a stressor. So stress is something that has come to stay. As every person who is alive today, we cannot run away from stress. It comes from, and it looks different for everyone. For someone else, it could be staying extra hours of work. For someone else, it can be sitting at the desk for too long. For someone else, it can be too much bills. For someone else, it can just be using the train every day to work. It can just be anything. Stress can look different. So for me, it could be something else. And what someone is complaining about as a stressor can be something that is an adrenaline for me. So sitting with yourself again, understanding yourself, knowing what these stressors are, and then intentionally planning for them is the game changer. There's nothing you can do to take away stress. Stress can never, if anybody tells you you can live a stress-free life, it's almost impossible. But it's possible that you can understand your stressors and manage it, and you're able to live a life that is balanced. And the word balance is largely used loosely. Like, there's never going to be a time when you're like this. For someone like me, I've not been able to get into a routine because my life is always disrupted. The kind of work that I do, I could get a call today, I have to jump to this part of Nigeria, or I have to go here. So if I want to say I want to create balance, it's almost impossible. Because when I'm enjoying 1 week of having an activity that is across board, the next week, something comes, you have to leave town, right? So I'm aware that that's the kind of life that I'm living now. So I'm now creating things around events, creating self-care plans around events, knowing that an event changes my eating habits, changes my mood, changes a lot of things, changes even the way I care for my kids and my family. So that intentionality, that awareness is something that I think if anyone can sit with it, self-care becomes non-negotiable and self-care becomes something that is now like a lifestyle. Thank you very much.
Self-care is non-negotiable. That's so much power and fireworks there. That's so much to... I was thinking, thinking about what you've said. I'm trying to see how to connect it to... I will go to Adebusola Dele-Davids because I feel like, it's more we're talking about families. So like I said, I was listening in and I'm curating the thoughts, how the conversation is coming together. So it's going to be spontaneous. It's not going to look like it was premeditated. And then I would probably want to one of the things I realized was, I remember when I was in Nigeria, I was working at I did a lot of projects with the National Sickle Cell Center Nigeria. And I know there were occasions where I got to meet some women who talked about being abandoned by their husband and all of that because of the sickle cell disease and all of that. And I've seen a lot of young people, beautiful young ladies who are living with sickle cell disease, but they are talented, but they realize that relationship is not a thing for them because of stigma, because of the way people perceive them. And then I'm thinking, like, Adebusola, maybe you have to speak into that experience as an expert, talking about relationship, abandonment, stigma, gaslighting. What is it like? I mean, we'd love to hear from you as an expert who has really been engaging different people on conversation around relationship, family life, and marriage as well, generally. Over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Pele. I think my work has been made very easy with all the things that people have said today. A lot of people have said a lot of things, but one of the key things that everybody has said is people have talked about relationships, helping them. Tonye spoke about how she had to get the support of people, how to get a community. People have talked about how to get a community, how to get relationship, people who they know, family members to support them. The same thing the first speaker said. She had supportive parents, she had supportive family who helped her. So they have made my whole work easy, because the truth is we are the sum total of all our relationships and our experiences. So for people, for when you say that everything that you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, how you think, how you reason, they are all a result of the relationships that you have encountered, and nobody is an island on its own. Relationships are to our own advantage, because something as little as a hug offers, numerous benefits, from reducing stress to boosting immune system to enhancing relationships and improving moods, So for people who are not enjoying the benefits of the kind of relationship or the kind of support, family support that they need, one of the things I've said to people is that you have to be awesome on your own. You have to be intentional about your own life. And when you are intentional about your life and people see value in what you are or what you have become, people would want to help you. Now, you will not get into self-pity to say, oh, nobody wants to be my friend, or nobody wants to help me out, or nobody. Instead of picking holes and saying to yourself, oh, I don't have help. Why don't you be the help? Look at what Tonye said about the fact that she needed, she didn't have a lot of, there were so many things that were going on. People were saying a lot of things. And she thought to herself, okay, you know what? I will do the education. People are not used to these things, but let me do the education. That is the point where we will get to. And when you begin to do that, people would actually see value in what you're doing, and then they would want to help. Because in Tonye's case, I remember that, I follow Tonye, by the way. I know her daughter, I know her son. I don't know whether she remembers me, but I'd come to meet her before. I'd sent a message to her to say to her before that, do you need any volunteers for anything? Why? Because I saw value in what she's doing. Because I also have I have a nephew who has Down syndrome. And then I had to tell my sister, please follow this lady, because I think that she has what you need, So instead of us saying to ourselves, instead of you saying to yourself, I'm abandoned, nobody wants to help me, you should be the one saying to yourself, I need to be a better person. I need to be awesome on my own. I need to be intentional about my life. Your life is your life. Your life is not another person's life. So your life is your responsibility. And so when you have gotten to a point where you know that, see, I'm old enough, and I always tell people, nobody is going to come and help you. Everybody is fighting one demon or the other. So nobody will really help you. Even if they come, maybe for a short time, they're tired already. So you have to be the one to step forward and say to yourself, I want to be somebody to be reckoned with. Yes, I might have sickle cell. Yes, I might have this, but what stories am I telling? How am I educating people? What do I want to let people know about this? This brings me to, I mean, there's a lady that auditioned, she's late now. She auditioned for, I think, Britain's Got Talent. She went by the name Night Birdie, and she came. And, you know, you could see that when she was talking, she had accepted the point where she was in, and she just wanted to be happy, and she just wanted to, you know, enjoy the remaining part of her life. And then she came, she had a song, she sang a song. I mean, she had gone through her battles in the dark and everything, but she had gotten to a point where she had said to herself, hey, I can be happy. Hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I'm going through. I can be happy, and I can, you know, I can make an impact. And then she came, she did her own original song, and then, you know, she became a sensation. Yeah, she did not go through, because eventually she passed, you know, with the cancer, where, you know, she passed and all, but she made a name for us. She was able to make an impact for herself. Nobody is useless. No one. I've always told people, just create value. When you create value, people will chase after you. When you become somebody of what, people will call you. I tell people, people are looking, people are seeing. And you might not know what, you might just be doing something. I have a passion for because I just felt like women could do better. I felt like, look, you could do better with your life in terms of, you know, all those things that when people say, what do you bring to the table, all those things, what kind of value are you bringing? You're not just, for me, you just don't go by the name of Mrs. Somebody. What are you doing? You know, what exactly are you bringing to the table? What exactly are you adding to your family? It doesn't have to be material things. It does not have to be, you know, it could be your advice that, you know, your husband is following or your wife is following, you know, something. It could just be your advice that could make the difference. And everybody can make a difference. Everybody can make a difference. I've been inspired by people's story today. I've been inspired by the first speaker's story, because I was looking at, in fact, when she said, oh, I looked at her again, like, really? And I mean, look at how far she has gone. She decided to be intentional about her life. She had a push. She had something that was pushing her to be a better version of herself. And look at her today. She's gotten to a point where she can say to herself, I've done well for myself. And that's the thought people should have. People shouldn't just have the thought of, people are not helping me. What about what you want to do for other people? I think that is what the total thinking should be. What am I going to bring? What am I going to have? Yes, I have this disability. Yes, I have that disability. I tell people this, I said, everybody now has a phone. Social media is open. You're not paying for it. Push out content. Tell people what you know. Let people know what you know. You will be shocked at what people did at that per time. People need different things per time, and it might just be on your page that they will find the thing that they're looking for. So do not ever think, oh, I have been abandoned, nobody is helping me. I've seen situations where women have decided, who were abandoned, decided that, look, I'm going to go do this thing and I'm going to make a name for myself. And they did. These were women that were abandoned, and then the husbands started coming back. And, you know, I know a lady who told me at one point that she was depressed. She had a business she was doing, but she was depressed because her husband was cheating on her and all. I told her, I said, look, leave the husband, let him do what he's doing. You focus on yourself, be intentional about yourself. Because see, we need you to be a better person. And she did just that. And in 6 months, this lady that was down was doing courses, she was building a bakery, she was doing this, she was doing that. All she needed to hear, because I gave her a picture. There was a picture that I prompted to give her. So I gave her the picture. It was a picture of a big horse being held by a chair. I don't know whether you had seen that picture before. A horse being tied to a plastic chair. And I said, do you think that this chair has the power over this horse? And she said, no. I said, that is how you are. You have power over this chair, but you just think I have more power than you do. So what you should do now is release yourself and go and do something for yourself. And she did just that. Guess what? Mr. Husband came back and was, pleading and asking, no, what can we do? Can we go to therapy and things like that? So I just generally feel like if you create value for yourself, you make sure that you make yourself somebody, push yourself out there, let people know everybody has something to give. I don't think there's anybody who came to the world dumb. Everybody has something to give. And once you know that you have something to give and you push yourself out there, people will see value and people will chase after you, and then money comes from there. So basically, that's the short summary of what I'll say.
Amazing, amazing. Talking about value, I don't want to again explain what you are saying, because I think there's so much that other speakers have to say, and I don't want to really hijack the conversation from me. I'll go straight away to Chioma. Chioma, over to you, please. I don't know if your camera is working. Take it from what Adebusola has said about being a person of value. You're somebody who is developing a lot of tech, innovation and solution to support, families and individuals and even corporate organizations as a woman. So we'd love you to probably speak into that experience as well, please. Asking to unmute yourself now and mute your post as well. Go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the speakers who have spoken so far. For being a person of value, I actually do agree and accept that, right? Every woman and everyone can contribute in one way or the other, and make impact, live a life that is purposeful, that is prosperous, and that is impactful, right? In what I do now, I continue literally to explore opportunities in technology. I know I might speak from a place of women because, of course, I also an advocate for more women to get into technology, especially emerging technologies. But this applies to everyone, right, in technology or in any area of your life, actually. But in speaking, let me try to speak more around some of the things I do. Being a product manager, some of the things I did earlier in my career, I started out as a founder, and then gently and gradually entered into emerging technologies. We might think that it's hard, right? But there is nothing that when you set your mind to that you cannot actually achieve, right? It only needs to be conceived. A lot of the technology that we use, we tend to be consumers of this technology. And with the way that, and we often think that, people abroad know a lot more than us, right, in terms of technologies. But, if we continue to allow ourselves to be we shift everything towards us, what I mean, be receivers or be consumers of technology rather than being part of the people that create technology, there is a constant place of being left behind, right? There is this possibility of being left behind. What I try to tell people, technology can play into any areas of our lives, any areas of our career, right? In everything we do, there are places where we can integrate new and emerging technologies. We only need to, collaborate, possibly with people with a skill set, or even learn the skill sets by ourselves, right? One thing with technology is not just an enabler. It cannot just scale that solution that you have, but it has the potential to also create prosperity. But it will create prosperity at the scale that we're currently going. It will create prosperity when we have a lot more people coming into the space and deciding to bring in a lot more, innovations within the space. I create technology for everyday people. And we do have, I'm of the opinion that we do have a lot of problems in the country and on the continent that we can totally, create technology for, and using like new and emerging technologies. I remember building a product that was for doctors in public hospitals. What we wanted it to do was to help digitize and speed up the operations, right, in public hospitals. And one of the things we noticed was that doctors didn't have time to actually type down their notes, right? And in doing that, we decided, okay, how do we solve this problem? One of the key things we wanted to use even earlier at that time was artificial intelligence, right? We wanted to be able to dictate this, wanted the doctors to be able to dictate these notes, right? And so that they can quickly dictate the notes and, get through their bulk of work, because an average doctor in Nigeria will see more than 50 patients a day, and even much more if they can take it, right? A lot of appointments are squeezed into their day, and they are trying to see a lot more people, as much patients as possible, right? And one of the things we wanted to do was make that process a lot easier. So instead of having them sit down, right, to start typing notes, you can see how inefficient that will be. We wanted to make it easy for them to just, dictate their notes, right, in between patients. And when we integrated an artificial intelligence that could, a speech-to-text model, right, we realized that it was not able to translate African intonation, Nigerian intonation, a lot better, right? So we started training a model, right, an artificial intelligence model that could take Nigerian accents in the medical space, right, and translate that into a text that is readable, right, so that the doctors will have fewer edits on their notes, right, because this was really inefficient for them to, after dictation, start going over the notes again and realizing that, oh my God, this AI messed up. We had less than 60% accuracy. And we wanted to improve that model up to 99% accuracy, right? And that was what we did. We had volunteers all across Africa sharing us voice data, right, that we could use to train, not just voice data, but medical voice data, right, that we could use to train the model, right, using NVIDIA's Hugging Face framework, artificial intelligence framework. So my point in telling these stories is that, regardless of how we feel that our work is different, are there ways that you could partner? So you might not necessarily be the technology expert, right? But are there ways that we could, collaborate with technology experts, right, to be able to create these solutions, right, and scale some of the things we do, right? We have, when we talk about arts and medicine, I think a lot about, how we could use AR and VR, right, augmented reality and virtual reality, and, build applications within there and deliver to people with special needs. But of course, this is still highly experimental, right? We also still really need to understand that so many of the technologies that needs to be built are still very highly experimental. And that's okay, right? And that's the thing. It doesn't necessarily need to come out perfect, right? As a product manager, I continue to think of how we could even test some of those solutions in the first place. Because if you don't start, you're not going to understand, the different applications and how you could scale them. But then you have to start first, right? And those are some of the things I want to talk about. But, let me talk a little bit about, if you finally decide that you want to come into the space, what are some of the things that you can do, taking what you already have, right? And then deciding that you want to take some of your strengths and bring them, right, and transfer them into technology and start from there. I would say performance SWOT analysis, definitely look at some of your strengths and ask yourself, where can I play strongly into? There are a lot of free courses, free resources for you to begin to, look at what. So maybe don't pay for courses yet until you even find out, what areas of technology I'm interested in, what areas do I want to integrate into my work, and then do some research around, do I really need to take time understanding this to a high level, or should I know enough, just enough, right, to find a great partner for myself so that together we can then have this experimental phase where we build and test out new technologies. And that is how I would approach it if I wanted to jump in newly. Now, there are lots, I want to say that with AI currently, there are lots of APIs, right, from large companies that are available for you to prompt engineer, right? What I mean is we really have models, right, pre-trained models that are available. So the main, whether it's speech, whether it's text, whether it's voice, whatever.
Chioma, are you still there? Since we've lost.
It's frozen.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
frozen.
All right, good. Mariam, would you like to speak now, very quickly? We're looking at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Shoot.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Again, my name is Mariam, and I work basically mainly with children. And over the years, I've been able to help nurture some children. I'm going to use a case study since we are talking about health. I'm using a case study of one of my former students who had reading and learning challenge, and I understand that it is the role of the educator to be able to find a way to help each child to learn at their own pace, which is what normally is called the student-centered learning. So this model has also been what I've been using with my clients in SME consulting. So I was able to early on understand what the challenge of the student was, which was that he was very brilliant, but the pace at which he could read was slower than that of the students. So I devised a way for, I changed the model. So my class, because my subject is not like maths or anything, I was able to change the model of testing the children. We stopped doing written exams, so it was quizzes and projects. So they did project development, they did product development, all those things. And then we had annual exhibition, trade craft exhibition. They did volunteering, business planning, and stuff like that. So the boy was able to thrive, and the others also were carried along. And this actually helped my class a lot. And it also helped them with the other subjects that they were doing at that particular time. So I think that one of the ways where we can also look at health is not just when we have maybe a physical challenge or a long-term illness, but stressors can also affect how we learn. It can also affect how we deliver in our business or as a parent and all of that. You can, anybody, if you're stressed as a parent, the way we will find out that some parents will just snap at their child
not because they want to, but because of maybe the stress they are bringing from work or anywhere. So it's also important for us to be able to relax. For me, I do that by volunteering. I do a lot of volunteering, and I'm also a crafts person. So I like creating things. I use my hand, make different designs, and over the years I've been able to acquire a lot of craft skills aside from my technical skills. So I learned shoemaking, bag making, jewelry, art, and all of that. And I've taught all of those crafts for over 20 years now. So
thank you so much for sharing. I was spinning back to, I want to think about, talking about business development and opportunities, and thinking about even becoming a person of value. I'm trying to see how we reference young people, the young generation. We have like two people here who are more very passionate and involved in activism. They're very young. One of them is the president of the mental health tribe in Nigeria. Very young, but again, this passion and energy to see they want to find ways of doing something in their community. I'm going to ask Yaya Abubakar to speak. Yaya, please go ahead and speak. Tell us where you're calling in from, and just go ahead and talk to us about mental health and how young people can be supported. We've seen a lot of challenges with even persons with disability, right? We've seen how they've been bullied, stigma, and all of that. So again, mental health is just quite very broad. As a young person, what are you doing in Nigeria to support the mental health of young people like yourself? Yaya Abubakar, over to you, please. Kindly unmute yourself.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, everyone, for having me today. My name is Yahya Abubakar, and I am the president of the Mental Health Tribe. I'm calling from Nigeria, Kaduna particularly. So what we are doing as young people, especially in the Mental Health Tribe, to support fellow young people who are mostly suffering with issues concerning the mental health issues, mental disorders, and a lot of that is, first, we understand that the one of the key thing or the most appropriate thing they require is listening ears. So we tend to listen to them, we tend to give them ears and hear out their problems. And after that, we intend to give them advices and counsel them on how to survive, how to handle themselves, and how to survive within their communities. Especially, I like it the fact that you mentioned people or young people, teenagers living with disability. One of the critical issue or critical problem young people living with disability are facing, especially in our local communities today, is the issue of stigmatization. Not everyone in the community understand that being disabled is not something that someone wishes himself to be. No, some people think that it's something of a choice or you cause it by yourself. So one thing we do is that we try to make them understand that no, we are all together and we are here for you. We are together in this. We use a lot of platforms. I remember having our last previously concluded workshop where we involve young people, not only teenagers. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
We invited young people, and one of the key aspects where we focused is the issue of guiding them to bring people who have the issue of who are having the issue of mental health disorder, or people who are handicapped, or all that. So bringing them together, understand their issues, understand their problems, and give them listening ears, show them love and concern is one of the key aspects that we are doing, or we are trying to first make an awareness among young people, to call them, have them as family members. So that is one of the things we are doing. And another thing is that to the people who are suffering from this problem, we are also giving them kind of support by having one-on-one sessions with them, listen to them and show them that this is not something they choose, and they are not the first people to have this kind of problem. So this is basically what we are doing, and I am so glad to tell you that the turnout is really amazing, because we are having feedbacks from a lot of people that they understand that they have support, they have someone or some group of people, young people like them, to rely on. So this is really great, and we are still on that, and we will continue to do that. So briefly, this is what we are doing, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Toyin very quickly, still talking about mental health, talking about stigma and around disability or stigma generally. How can people really have the support they needed to be able to deal with stigma of living with a condition they never even prayed for, that life just happened to them? And I know, like I spoke earlier on about, even sometimes parents try to hide their children. Have you ever felt that way, that you feel like you've been put in a position where you feel like you want to hide your daughter and all of that because of certain things?
So I would say I'm a bit of a weirdo, because number one, Simone was the first Black person with Down syndrome I'd ever seen. I'd never seen a Black person with Down syndrome in the UK, and I'd never seen a Black person with Down syndrome in Nigeria. And people are always amazed by that, but there's two different reasons. One, because there wasn't diversity in the images that were being communicated in the UK. It was only Oyibo people. And then here, because the shame, the stigma, people hide them, or they send them far away. So people are always surprised that literally my daughter was the first Black person with Down syndrome I'd ever seen. I didn't know Black people got Down syndrome. But because of the late diagnosis, I think I was very blessed to have a late diagnosis, because we really connected. So for me, the Down syndrome wasn't an issue. I had to learn about it. Of course, I was upset about it with that initial reaction, but saw that this was just what we were going to have to deal with. What was harder for us was her heart condition. She had heart failure, and she was given 6 months to live. So that was really what turned our lives upside down and really had me questioning. But took about 2.5, almost 3 years to overcome that. And I came back to Nigeria, and I was very open. I was very open, and people were like, "You're very comfortable talking about this thing." And I was wondering, I'm like, I don't understand. Should I not be comfortable talking about my daughter and her Down syndrome? So then as I began to, settle back here, interact with people, I started to understand that my viewpoint, my being very comfortable, open, talking about it, I don't have any shame. I didn't have any shame there. For me, to be her mom, I always say it's a badge of honor. So I then began to understand, oh, wait, most people are not like this. Okay. And then I would begin to try and talk to people in that you've done nothing wrong. There's nobody to blame. Every person in this life has something hard they have to deal with. This is just your heart. What are you going to choose to do about it? And that's really like the attitude I try and say to parents, this child is here. What are you going to do? And that is when you just break it, you distill it down to its basic foundations, that's what it is. Being a parent is difficult anyway, but being a parent to a child who has additional needs is even more intense. Our mental health, we are so much more likely to suffer from extreme anxiety, depression, you know, the issues of mental health for parents with children with special needs far above those of neurotypical parents. And so we need to begin to understand that and support parents in that area. It's not just, okay, you need to do this for your child. How are you doing? How are you processing? How are you understanding? And this is where that community support comes in. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends your outlook, a lot of parents run from church pillar to church post. And that can be the worst thing you can possibly do, because I cannot count. It goes far beyond my fingers and toes. The number of church people that said I should come and drop my child so that they can remove the Down syndrome. I run the other way. I run the other way. I'm a person who believes in God. I'm a child of God. God sent me this child. We literally have an angel living with us in our house. So religion and faith, whatever your belief in a higher power, has a place. And whilst you're praying or, you know, getting your prayer worries on board, you still have to do your own in the natural. That's why I tell parents, you have to do your own in the natural. You can hear them already. And let God do the supernatural. We spend so much time going from one church to the other, from one pastor to the other, and not attending to the needs of that child. So shame, fear, they will do this. They're the worst things that you can submit to. You can feel them. I feel them. And you're a normal human being. You should feel them. I think if you didn't feel any fear on this journey, I'll be worried about you. But the key is, what do you use that to help you do? How do you use that as a tool for motivation? To take care of your family. You might have other children that also need support. How do you balance all of that? But the key is that whilst you're taking care of them as a special needs dad, as a primary caregiver, special needs mom, I agree on here that you have to find a way to take care of yourself. And I've learned this the hard way. This is the hardest thing for me in this journey. I give, I do, and I really leave that self-care to a secondary thing. Until recently, I learned that, you know what, the world is not going to fall apart if I take a day off and I just sleep. Because I need to sleep. I come back revived. I'm a person who really believes in the power of physical fitness, of fitness, you know, of keeping fit, watching your nutrition. All those things have a factor to play in your mental health, just in the way as they have a role to play in your child with disabilities. Their physical and nutritional needs, or what you give them to eat, have a huge effect on their progress as well. But it's important for you as the grown-up, as the one taking care, to take care of yourself. For me, when people say, oh, but you don't need to exercise, you're so slim and everything, I said, it's not about that. It's for my mental health, because I'll murder somebody if I don't work out. And they laugh. I'm like, no, I'm serious. I would like kill somebody, because you hear so much nonsense in this journey. And if it wasn't for physical exercise and what people have said to me, I would have really tore some people up. So I just say, okay, thank you for that. All right. And I keep it moving. So you find what helps you, but that keeping, for me, that well-being of taking time to meditate, for yoga, working out like a beast, for me, that is like my mental health goal.
I'm going to really respond to what you said, and I will just ask Adelola very quickly, just to point us in the direction of, for parents who might really need access to resources, to support themselves, or know of any family members that have children living with one form of disability or the other. Where can they go? Is there a community in Nigeria where parents can really have access or families can have access to very quickly. I'm looking at the time because we're out of time already. Very quickly, please. Adelola. Okay, let me ask you to unmute yourself. Okay. I see. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So because I work in the autism space, I can speak for I don't even know many, but and then but there's one that I also know that is quite general. So there's Warrior Moms. It's run by someone called Daisy Jonathan. I'm sure you can check out. She runs the Pleasant Places school. So if you check her out online, you can actually just request to join Warrior Moms. I don't think it's strictly for autism, but she's an autism mom, so that's why I know about that. And there's Patrick Speech and Languages Center has a support group as well. It's just called the Parents Forum. But if you contact them online as well, they're on Instagram, Facebook, and tell them that their parents has a child with special needs. And funny enough, it's just dawning on me that they're not only autism, but I know them because I'm in this space. But speaking of that, I know of another one. Okay, so Warrior Moms and Patrick Speech, I'm sure. There's a third one I can't readily think of, but I know that the Facebook group was called Nigerians for Autism, which I don't think is very active anymore. But I know that they're still active, I think, on WhatsApp. But I'm not in that group. So, but there's a Facebook group called Nigerians for Autism. But there are others that there's one that I would usually just tell parents when I find out a child with disability, and it's called Super Parents. They have a WhatsApp group for parents, but they also have a Facebook group. And they have physical meetings as well. They have physical events to support parents that have children. So because support can mean differently for different families. Some families cannot afford therapy at all, you know. So I mean, they not say at all, but they really can't afford it. So that's the level of support they want. Some people just want someone else to, you know, to encourage them. And you get all of that. There's a Facebook group, Super Parents, which is on Facebook. And that group includes not just parents, but also professionals so that you can get advice if you need one. But they also have a WhatsApp group that is dedicated primarily to parents. And then there's Diary of a Special Needs Mom. I know they run a support group. I don't know how it works, but I know, so I don't know whether they have a WhatsApp group, but I know that the page that runs it is on social media as Diary of a Special Needs Mom. So if the parent goes on these platforms, those are primary ones that maybe they can join anywhere. If you are in Lagos, I am aware, I hope it's still existing, but as far back as 5 years ago, I was aware that Luth had a support group for parents of children with special needs. The pediatric department had a special support group. I don't know if it's still effective, but at that time, I was visiting quite a number of parents who attended that support group, and I want to believe that they kept it going. And really, support is very, let me just add this, that support is very important. One thing is, there's this thing that they say there's nothing new under the sun. While our children might be unique in different ways, there are experiences that a child can be going through now that someone else has gone through. A parent can be going through something now that a child has gone, another parent has gone through. And in such support groups, they're able to share, oh, I've gone through this before, or I've tried this and it worked. Of course, we know that parents have to be careful because not everything that you would run with, but it's important that you at least grab every opportunity to not be alone in this journey.
All right. Thank you.
No, that's not every opportunity.
All right. Thanks so much, Adelola. I was thinking if it's possible, if you can share some of the links to the groups you mentioned, maybe that would be good if you can share it in the chat box. So maybe if we have the links, you can just
I'll do that.
I would love to read this from Precious very quickly. Precious said, good evening, everyone. I must commend the speakers on doing justice to their topics. And my shout out goes to Chioma, Udoh, who I got to know about this program from. My question is on stress management. I easily fall sick within a few months as a result of stress, in as much as I try to balance my activity to some extent, which include feeding well, taking short break, taking a good night rest, and some extracurricular activities, yet I feel sick sometimes. Are there ways that can be handled and I wouldn't fall sick, take even if it's malaria drugs in 6 months. So we would love to speak to that. Auntie Toyin, but yes, your area is self-care. So tell us, you're the doctor of self-care today. You tell us about that.
Stress. Like someone said, whether I think it was Toyin that said that stress is stress. You'll always have stress, regardless of what. But there's positive stress and there's negative stress. Now, when you're dealing with negative stress, you have to figure out what is triggering those stress. You personally will know. The thing about stress is you're the only one who can help yourself. So you have to know what triggers it, what is causing it. Is it some challenges that you're going through? One motto I always say to people: let God and let go, because we worry a lot. People worry a lot. Worry about this, worry about that. Am I going to make it? My friend is this. Am I going to be able to be like them? Because I fall sick and all that stuff. But you have to learn to pace yourself. Don't struggle. A lot of us are trying to prove that, okay, despite what happens to us, despite the fact that I fall ill a lot, I'm going to try and prove that I can be as good as my friends, other people on social media and all that. But in trying to push yourself, you trigger stresses that would activate you being sick. So you have to learn to pace yourself. It's very important. I know we're trying to catch up, we're trying to make ourselves known or accepted and valued. But like someone said, when I started the NGO, um, before I started the NGO, nobody knew me, and I was one worrying about my own health and everything. But once I started the NGO, helping other people, I saw my own issues as less important, my own sickness as less important, and gradually I didn't fall sick as much as I would have. So you have to find something that will distract you, which is helping other people with certain things. There are some things that that you've been able to manage that another person does not know. If you know one more thing than another person, you on your way to giving value. So it's very important that you look at, okay, I'm in this situation. How can I use it to even help other people? Yeah, I do that a lot. I was recently diagnosed, apart from sickle cell, with fibromyalgia, and that's worse because it's 24-hour pain. But in it, I've decided that, okay, this is not going to affect me. It's not going to stress me. I'm going to see how I can use it to help other people. I see there's little awareness of autoimmune disease. How can I now start spreading that information about autoimmune disease? So you have to find a way to how would I call it, release that tension that you're going through helping other people. Then thirdly, sorry, try and not be how will I call it? Try to say no to things. A lot of us, because we're trying to give value or we're trying to make people accept us, we do all sorts of things. And you say yes, okay, somebody says, come and help me do this. If you know you cannot do it, please don't. It is important you rest. The body can only go so far. Your central nervous system will begin to attack you and quarrel with you that you are not allowing it to rest, basically. So it's very important that you try to say no to some things once you know you cannot do it. It's not you being lazy, it's you practicing self-care and being aware that there are some things that if you push yourself, you will fall ill. E.g. exams. Pace yourself. Don't do reading all night because you want to pass your exams. Don't work till how many hours of the day because you're trying to please your boss. Learn to pace yourself and learn to know when to say no. I'll leave that. There are so many other things, but time is of essence, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Auntie Tony. I see that time is really, really gone. We have a few minutes left. I will just maybe just ask, there's someone I would love to spot. Thanks so much, Adelola, for sharing those. There's someone here. I would just love to speak for like 1 minute. Let me see. I'm trying to remember her name now. Okay, let me see. Oh, yes, Damilola Olajubutu, very quickly. Damilola, would you like to speak now, just for 1 minute? Because again, by 7 o'clock, we need to close this meeting so that, you know, it's weekend and people to attend to their families and all of that. Very quickly, Damilola, just 1 minute.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Very insightful and profound conversation so far. So I'm a rural development practitioner and a public policy researcher. And I actually, recently, picked interest in issues surrounding disabilities in rural communities after, extensive interaction with Ayo Aboishade, who has also been in the disability space. And I mean, for me, I find it, intriguing to realize that about 15% of the world population have some kind of disability, and 80% of those people are residing in rural areas. And even in Nigeria, we have up to about 25 billion Nigerians that are living with one disability or the other. However, I mean, where the concern is the rural-urban divide. Like rural communities, despite their interconnected challenges and very multidimensional problems, are always marginalized or excluded in conversations, this kind of conversations. And it also seemed like, most of the facilities and resources available for, disability, like support system for disabilities, are much more prominent. Like it's more of urban-centric facilities for, disability support. And I am actually happy about this kind of, conversations and workshop about disability and providing support for women, especially in rural communities where, poverty is on the high. Women are very vulnerable, and there's a high level of illiteracy and stigmatization. And, I really want to see more forums, bringing in the rural perspective to things, advocating for empowerment for persons with disability in rural areas, and, providing disability and mental health resources in rural communities, as well as, advocating inclusive policy that accommodate disabilities, in rural programs. So I really just want to pay attention to the rural side of things, because these people are often forgotten. They are often isolated and marginalized, from most of these, kind of conversations. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.